Hello and greetings to all. So I am Nick and today I am going to present about clinical case study in angiography. The case study code is AZ12. So let's move on. So first of all, as usual, I will explain a bit about the patient data and the clinical information in this case. A 49 years old man complains of sudden onset of shortness of breath. Doppler ultrasound examination of the lower extremities revealed the femoral vein thrombus. The VQ scan showed complete lack of perfusion of the right lung. A markedly dilated azygous vein is identified. Also, dilated azygous and hemiazygous veins are identified in the retrocranial space. There is acute thrombus within the common iliac, external and internal iliac veins, and the common femoral veins bilaterally. Above the confluence of the common iliac veins, the inferior vena cava is unapparent. Multiple collateral vessels are present around the aorta and the azygous and hemiazygous veins are prominent. The portal venous axis is patent. The patient is confirmed to have pulmonary embolism and deep venous thrombosis. So this patient is scheduled to undergo an intervention angiography procedure that can be used to prevent the embolus from travel to the lung via the inferior vena cava. For the radiological procedure and preparation, first, this patient is scheduled to undergo inferior vena cava filter placement. So what is inferior vena cava filter? IVC filter is a device and it is common for patients who have recurrent pulmonary embolism or who are at the high risk for developing them. For example, for the patient who is a post-trauma with the pelvic and a lower extremity fracture. The device is placed in the inferior vena cava to trap the potentially fatal emboli that originates in the lower limb. The ideal location for the filter placement is at the infrarenal IVC. The filter is placed at infrarenal because it can help to prevent the renal vein thrombosis. It is important to understand the IVC filter can prevent the potentially life-threatening complication. Several factors should be taken into consideration when selecting the IVC filter, such as the clinical setting in which the filter is used, the magnetic resonance imaging compatibility of the device, and also the ease of placement and also the removal. So these are the images of the IVC filter. As you can see, the device is like this and it will be placed in the IVC. So who are the patients that will be undergo this procedure? The indications are divided into three categories, which are absolute indications, relative indication, and also prophylaxis. So for the absolute indication, the patient might have one or more of the following aspects such as contraindication to anticoagulation, anticoagulation-induced bleeding, progression of recurrence of venous thromboembolism despite adequate anticoagulation, inability to achieve or maintain therapeutic anticoagulation, and massive and life-threatening of pulmonary embolism with the residual deep vein thrombosis. So next, the relative indications include documented progression of iliofemoral thrombosis despite adequate anticoagulation, iliocaval thrombus, massive free-floating inferior vena cava thrombus, the before initiation of thrombolytic therapy or iliocaval thrombosis, non-compliant patients or inability to monitor the patient during the treatment, increase the risk of anticoagulation in this bleeding, such as patients with a frequent falls, and also the limited cardiac or pulmonary reserve. Next, these are the indications for prophylactic filter placement. The patient might be the trauma patient with an increase of venous thrombus embolism, closed head and spinal cord injury, multiple fractures involving the lung and the pelvic bone, perioperative prophylaxis in the patients with a history of increase of venous thromboembolism, and also critically ill patients with a history of increase of VTE and contraindication of anticoagulation. So these are the common contraindications that can prevent some of patients group to undergo this type of procedure. So first of all, the IVC of the patient is completely occluded, absence of IVC, filter cannot be safely accommodated within a very small or a large IVC, documented allergy to the filter material, inability to image during the filter placement, lack of access to the inferior vena cava, which is all the access veins are occluded, severe coagulopathy that cannot be corrected, and also past history of allergic contrast material reaction and impaired renal function. So in this case, the procedure can be performed using alternative contrast agents such as CO2 or gadolinium. This procedure also comes with the possible risks and the complications. Besides usual angiographic complications such as infection and bleeding, the risks and complications are as follows. Access sites complications such as hematoma, thrombosis of access vein, and arterial injury, contrast-induced nephropathy and allergic reaction, malposition of the filter, malfunctions of the filter leading to the recurrent pulmonary embolism, malfunction of the deployment system during the insertion, venous and IVC thrombosis, filter fracture and migration, and also filter infection, IVC penetration during the procedure or due to the penetration of filter parts through the wall, and also mortality. So these are the conditions that patient might get during or after the procedure. For the pre-procedural assessment and the patient preparation, first, a medical history along with the indication and physical examination status should be obtained before the procedure began. This should include questions intended to assess the patient's ability to tolerate with the contrast injection and also allergy history. A detailed explanation of the procedure will be given to the patient, which is important to ensure full understanding and the cooperation. It includes the detail of the risks and complications that may occur later, so that the patient is fully informed before signing the consent. The evaluation of diagnostic imaging studies to determine the relevant vascular anatomy and the presence of normal variants and venous thrombosis or occlusion. This will assure the pre-procedural selection of an appropriate access vein and effective planning to avoid the complications and limit the procedure time. The pre-procedural management of coagulation status includes the lab test result and the medication of antithrombotic drugs. The lab test that should be obtained before the procedure is international normalized ratio INR and also activated partial thromboplastin time APTT. And these are the medications that needed to withhold before the IVC filter procedure. On the day of the procedure, patient need to fasting 8 hours before the procedure. It is to reduce the risk of aspiration. The imaging modality used for the guidance in this procedure is fluoroscopy combined with the ultrasound for access of venotomy. So the venous access used in this case is femoral vein, and patient is in supine position. Patient should change the attire to hospital gown and remove all metallic objects, and also the team should review sedation or anesthesia requirements and request anesthesia consultation as necessary. So this is the description of the procedure, in which it tells about the overview of how these procedures are being carried out. First of all, the site of venous access is identified and marked. The skin of both groins are shaved, prepped and draped in the usual sterile fashion. The common femoral vein is located by palpation and ultrasound. Local anesthesia is administered and a small skin incision is made. Femoral venous access is obtained using a needle under direct ultrasound with visualization or by palpation. Once a good venous flow is detected, a guide wire was advanced through the needle up through the femoral veins into the inferior vena cava under direct fluoroscopy visualization, and a long vascular sheath is placed. Then, a pigtail catheter was advanced into the inferior vena cava over a guide wire, and its tip is positioned at the confluence of the iliac veins. Cavogram is performed by injecting the contrast at the rate of 15 to 20 ml per second. The contrast type usually used is Ultravis 300. It is followed by digital subtraction angiography imaging in the anterior-posterior projection. The contralateral iliac veins and renal veins are identified as inflow of unopacified bloods or by the reflux of contrast into the orifice of veins. The size of the inferior vena cava was estimated in the diameter range. After that, the pigtail catheter and the short vascular sheath are exchanged over a guide wire for a filter delivery shaft under fluoroscopy guidance. The filter delivery system is advanced through the sheath and it is positioned in the desired location, which is below the infrarenal vein. The sheath is withdrawn to expose the filter, which is deployed under continuous fluoroscopy guidance in the infrarenal vena cava. After that, completion cavogram is performed using the delivery sheath to document the position and exclude complications. The sheath is removed and adequate hemostasis is achieved at the venotomy site by the compression for about 15 to 20 minutes. Sterile dressing is applied and the patient is transferred to the recovery room. For the post-procedural plan, keep the patient complete bed rest with the leg extended and head elevated for 2 to 3 hours. Check also the puncture site for any bleeding or hematoma formation every 15 minutes for 1 hour. Then every 30 minutes for 2 hours, and inform interventional radiology team if any complications are observed. Monitor also the vital signs every 50 minutes for 1 hour, then every 30 minutes for 2 hours, and notify interventional radiology team if the systolic blood pressure is below 95 ml mercury or heart rate is over 110 beats per minute. Observe also for developing limb edema, which may indicate a caval thrombosis or new deep venous thrombosis. For the permanent filters, perform regular abdominal imaging studies every 3 to 5 years to check filter position and integrity. Whereas for the temporary filters, schedule regular follow-up visits during temporal window of retrievability to assess anticoagulation status and determine the timing of safe filter removal. So for the clinical reasoning part, I will explain a bit about the role of IVC filter. Deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism are known collectively as a venous thromboembolism. The goals of treatment of DVT include the prevention of pulmonary embolism, restoration of blood flow through the occluded segment, prevention of thrombosis recurrence, and a prevention of venous valve function. Accomplishment of this goal minimizes PE-associated morbidity and mortality. The first-line treatment of venous thromboembolism is systemic anticoagulant therapy with low molecular weight heparin or unfractionated heparin, followed by the long-term therapy with a vitamin K antagonist such as warfarin to prevent the thrombosis propagation and to allow for the thrombus dissolution by the intrinsic fibrinolytic system. However, for the patients who fail or have contraindication or complication of anticoagulation therapy, the IVC filter placement is administered to reduce the risk of fatal pulmonary embolism. This is where IVC filter plays an important role in this situation. The effectiveness of a filter in the prevention of pulmonary embolism in patients with proximal DVT has been well established. Traditionally, these filters have been placed in the patients with acute proximal DVT or a recent pulmonary embolism who have either a contraindication to receive heparin, or who had bleeding during heparin treatment, also who have had a PE despite anticoagulation. So basically, the filter is divided into two types, which are the permanent filter or retrievable filter. So in the permanent filter, the filter is placed as the permanent implant in the patient's IVC, whereas for the retrievable filter, the filter is placed temporarily in IVC. Retrievable filter differs in that they can be removed once the contraindications have been subsided and the patients can be initiated on an anticoagulation. In other words, it is removed when the indication for filter placement resolves, or effective pharmacological venous thromboembolism therapy or prophylaxis is achieved. Other than that, risk of recurrent venous thromboembolism is estimated to be less than the risk of leaving the filter in this place. Speaking about retrievable filters, it is important that we need to assess the retrieval rate in this case. Retrieval rate is important in order to decide whether the filter should be retrieved or not. The US Food and Drug Administration has suggested that the vena cava filter can be removed once clinically appropriate to avoid the complications. Poor retrieval rates correspond to an increase in reported adverse events such as increased risk of DVT, IVC thrombosis, IVC penetration, and also filter fraction and embolization. Several patient-related factors were also associated with the retrieval rates. Increasing age of the patient was associated with the low retrieval rate. Patient comorbidities such as cancer, stroke, hyperlipidemia, myocardial infarction, and also liver disease are contributed to the low retrieval rates. Next, other studies investigating factors associated with the retrieval rates have focused on a poor patient follow-up as the primary reason why the vena cava filter are not removed. In this procedure, generally there is a two venous access site that commonly be used in the clinical settings, which are the femoral veins or internal jugular veins. The basic understanding regarding the filter placement is IVC filter should be inserted without any filter tilt. Severely tilted IVC filters increase the risk of filter tip embedment in the IVC wall or the penetration of adjacent organs by the filter strut. There was a study recently done by Choi et al. In 2018, which he compared about the venous access in IVC filter procedure. The access are the femoral and jugular approach. He demonstrated that the use of femoral veins access does offer several advantages, such as the femoral venous access avoids the need of vascular cannulation through the right atrium for attaining access to the IVC in a hypovolemic patients or in patients with a narrow right atrium or narrow hepatic IVC junction. Accessing the IVC with the guide wire and delivery shaft via the right atrium can lead to cardiac arrhythmias and cardiac injury. Moreover, the femoral venous access approach allows for a reduced working length of a guide wire and a delivery shaft as compared to the other venous access approach. Third, passing a venography shaft or pigtail catheter through the deployed IVC filter can cause a filter's position to change or tilt. With a femorally placed catheter, the venography pigtail is inserted caudally to the IVC filter to confirm the placement after the procedure, which can avoid filter disruption. A shorter procedure time was involved in the right common femoral and the left common femoral access than in right internal jugular access. The femoral venous access approach may offer several advantages in reducing operator and patient-related radiation exposure as compared to the jugular venous access approach. Thus, it can be said that the femoral venous approach is safe and has several advantages in compared with the transjugular approach. So these are the references, and thank you.